First of all, we shouldn't have been having this hearing at all. While Donald Trump has this fake criminal investigation into Jay Powell, we should not be even considering who should replace Chair Powell. But the thing that really stuck with me is how this guy is trying to tell us that he is independent from the president, but he couldn't even say that Donald Trump lost the election in 2020. Not to mention the fact that he is clearly being chosen because Trump trusts him.
We had that sound that you just mentioned. Let's play that. Warsh refuses to say who won the 2020 election.
Mr. Warsh, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the federal
I'm just
Reserve.
asking you a factual question. I need to know, I need to measure your independence and your courage.
Senator, I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
That's not the question I'm asking.
So can I just jump in right here? So, see, for me, Senator, just straight up, if I'm the chairman of that committee, and at that moment, I gavel it closed. Because I don't know why we're playing this sort of Rorschach test or this sort of mind game with these nominees coming forward. If you cannot ask a fundamental civic question, right? This is a civics test. Did the president of the United States lose the election in 2020? And if you do that kind of an answer, then you are not fit to serve in government, period. Because no matter what else you say or do after that, it exposes who you are and it exposes how you will lead. So I don't understand how people sit there and pretend past that, okay, let me move on to the next question, and not drill down and just kind of say, you know what, if you fundamentally can't answer that, why are you coming for this job?
Well, that is exactly right. And especially when the issue is this chair going to follow the facts and the data in order to make the best decisions to maximize employment and keep prices stable? Or is he going to be at the beck and call of the president?
He is at the beck and call.
That's exactly what I think this shows. If you can't even answer a straightforward question like that. And as we went through, you know, we asked him a lot of questions about what he thought about inflation and what he thought about interest rates. And again, he was, he gave me no confidence that we could trust him to do what's best for the country.
Here's an exchange that Warsh had with Senator Elizabeth Warren. He attempted to make a joke and it fell flat. You can rewatch.
Name one aspect of President Trump's economic agenda with which you disagree.
Well, Senator, the Federal Reserve in recent years has wandered outside of its remit, wandered into other areas.
I'm asking for something
That's not something I'm prepared
with Donald
to do.
Trump on.
If I'm confirmed, the Federal Reserve should stay in its lane.
Just one little place where you disagree with Donald Trump.
Well, I do have a disagreement, actually, Senator, with the president. I think even this morning, he said that he thought I was out of central casting. I think central casting, I'd look older, grayer, and maybe show up here with a cigar of sorts.
Quite adorable.
Stay in your lane, as they say. I want to remind everyone that part of the reason Warsh's confirmation is interesting is because he, in the past, prior to his association with this president, has made the argument that lowering interest rates would not be in the best interests of the United States economy. It is why this question of whether or not it is possible for there to be any daylight between him and this president becomes especially critical, Senator, in a moment when the president has one objective in appointing Warsh to be Fed chair.
Absolutely. And, you know, first, I love the way Elizabeth is having none of it when he tries that line. And she's going to stay focused, as I think we all did in the committee, on what's really at stake here. And over and over again, we asked questions about what he thought about inflation and what he was going to do based on what the president was going to direct him to do. And his position on interest rates have gone up and gone down. I mean, he doesn't appear to have a coherent intellectual argument about what he thinks should happen. And so that's why we're so worried that he's going to try to juice the economy in order to help the president and his party in the upcoming elections. And that's going to be really bad for my constituents who are already struggling to pay their doctor's bills and buy groceries and certainly to pay gas.
This is reporting from December from the Wall Street Journal. During a 45-minute meeting with Warsh on Wednesday at the White House, the president pressed Warsh on whether he could trust him to support interest rate cuts if he were chosen to lead the central bank. According to people familiar with the meeting, Trump, in the Journal interview, confirmed that reporting. This is Warsh today answering questions from Senator Ruben Gallego.
Earlier today, you said to Senator Kennedy that President Trump never demanded you to cut interest rates in your job interview. Is that your sworn testimony?
That is, Senator.
Okay. Well, someone here is lying then, because it's either you or President Trump. Because in an interview with the Wall Street Journal of December 12th, President Trump confirmed that he pressed you on your commitment to support interest rates cuts.
Senator, there's, of course, a third alternative. You cite a couple of reporters for a leading financial newspaper. I recall reading that story at the time.
Did you issue a correction?
I think those reporters either need better sources or better journalist standards.
So I think the question on the table is the federal, if Kevin Warsh is confirmed, can we say if the Federal Reserve will continue to be independent, or will it just become an arm of presidential power? And we'll just put up on the screen while you answer. This is the purpose of the Federal Reserve. This matters because they conduct U.S. monetary policy. They supervise and regulate banks. They can make the decision about whether, if you're able to afford a loan or not to start a business. They maintain the stability of the financial system. This seems like important stuff to me.
Absolutely. It totally is. And, you know, Donald Trump has been very clear. He said just a couple of weeks ago, I would not appoint somebody to the Fed who wouldn't do what I wanted them to do. So we know where he is on this. And this matters to Americans because what he does is going to have an impact on whether they can afford their lives. So I think that it is quite clear where this nominee is coming from. And you know, it's really important, could I add, that it's really important that Jay Powell stay on the board and not open up. You know, he might not be president, but he can still stay on the board. And that will make a big difference for Americans in terms of the long-term stability of the economy.